Hello, and welcome back to the DocMo Show. This is the podcast for high-achieving professionals who are done guessing and sick of trying random solutions and the so-called biohacks and are ready for the real information and insights that you need to reclaim your energy, vitality, and overall health with proven strategies. And I am so excited because today's episode is going to be a game changer because we are diving into the world of hyperbaric oxygen therapy with Jonalyn and Adam from Next Level Hyperbarics. Our guests today are a husband and wife team that are taking physical recovery, inflammation control, and cellular healing, well, to the next level. So if you're struggling with symptoms that you can't shake no matter what, this episode could be exactly what you're searching for. So help me in welcoming today's guests, Adam and Jonalyn. Hi, Adam and Jonalyn. How are you guys today?
Great.
Fantastic.
How are you?
I'm great. It's a pleasure having you guys here. We met a few months ago, and when I heard what you did, I was like, you've got to come on the show and tell people about this. And so I'm so glad that you were able to be here. And what I want to know as we start off is, what can hyperbarics do? It's like, I want that little, like, I'm listening. Like, what type of, results do you get with this hyperbarics? I know we're going to talk about what it does, but what can it do?
Well, I mean, we've been in the industry for a while, and so we've seen so many different benefits from different clients. The question sometimes is what can it not do, because we've seen so many different results. So it spans anywhere between reducing inflammation, helping clients recover from cancer, long haul COVID issues that people are dealing with. Autistic children, have become, better as far as just being in the chamber for a month at a time, going from nonverbal to showing signs of verbal, signals with their children, which is great. And so there's a whole array of benefits that we've seen just in the short amount of time we've been in the business.
Yeah, and we get asked a lot as far as, well, does it help with this condition? Does it help with that condition? And it really, it doesn't heal anything specific. What it actually does is it facilitates your body's natural healing process. So whatever, our bodies are designed to heal itself, right? So basically, it facilitates our body's natural healing process by flooding the body with oxygen, delivering oxygen directly to your body at the cellular level, thus helping it heal itself. So when people ask us, like, oh, what specifically does it do as far as different ailments and things of that nature? Nothing specific. It just helps your body heal itself. And by doing that, it reduces inflammation, helps with the healing process. Any sort of recovery, whether it be sports performance, autoimmune diseases, mold toxicity, Lyme disease, dementia, cognitive issues like traumatic brain injuries, stroke recoveries. I mean, it's a wide array of things.
Wow, that's really incredible. And I want to talk more about this because I think a lot of people don't really know much about hyperbaric therapy, and you just kind of touched on kind of how it works with helping your body oxygenate better. But how long does it take to see these type of results? Like, I'm like, that's impressive, getting children from who are nonverbal to like being on the verge of being verbal, like having this type of progress in so many different conditions. Like, how long does it take? Can I land there one time and it's like, okay, now I'm ready to get a PhD, or like, how does this work?
Yeah, it's a great question. So it's a very common question we get. We always like to explain it like working out, right? Or living a healthy lifestyle. So it's not going to be a magic pill that just says, hey, you do it one time and you're going to get the results you want. It's really a mind shift and a lifestyle change. For a lot of our clients that are referred by doctors, the doctors recommend usually 40 to a minimum of 40 sessions or more to see really good benefits and results, to give it a really good shot. So After 40 sessions, what studies have shown is that the stem cells start to regenerate after 40 sessions of use. And what that looks like is an hour, a minimum of an hour a day in the chamber, and consecutively, preferably. So, meaning not skipping any days. You really want to try to get in there at least once a day if you can.
Wow, that's really amazing. Now, what I just heard is like, I need to be in this chamber like Noah's Ark, like 40 days and 40 nights. I know you didn't say the nights part, but I'm like 40 sessions an hour a day. So is that right? So I want to do kind of 40 days straight of the therapy?
Yeah, so we that's what we found that's been very helpful. Now, we also have found that it depends on the condition, right? So if the condition's chronic, a lot of doctors will say, "Hey, you've been dealing with this issue for a long, long time, so it's going to take your body some time to heal and undo whatever is going on."
And by the way, that's not to say that if somebody doesn't do 40 sessions that they're not going to see benefit,
Right.
because there's plenty of benefit. So, perfect example. There was a woman who had back surgery, and she had several of her vertebrae fused together. And so she did 10 sessions of hyperbaric chamber, an hour session each, and she did it over the course of 2 weeks. So she basically did 10 sessions over the course of 14 days. I just saw her at the end of the 10th session, and I asked her, so, you think it worked? She's like, I don't know if it worked or not, but I'm going to have a doctor's appointment on Monday, and I'm going to ask him if I can go back to yoga class. 2 weeks after surgery, after back surgery. So after having her vertebrae fused together, I was like, I think it worked.
Yeah.
10 sessions, and you want to go back to yoga after surgery. Okay. So, while some of these more serious issues, like, cognitive issues or autism or some other things may be prescribed for 40 sessions, and that seems to be a common theme, it doesn't mean that less than 40 sessions isn't going to do you any good.
Yeah. And thank you. Actually, Adam made a good point. So those are the common cases that we're seeing right now with our clients. But we did get a call yesterday from a client that was in an accident 3 years ago, and he swears by the hyperbaric chamber. He said he did 20 sessions, and after 20 sessions of use, he saw great results and he was completely healed and he felt amazing. So he had a concussion, he had a bunch of injuries from the accident, so he had to do a lot of PT work. But he said after 20 sessions of doing hyperbarics, he felt, significantly better. So think Adam didn't, mention that. That's a great point. It's not always 40 sessions, but after 10 to 20 sessions, you could definitely start to see good results.
Wow, that's really incredible. And I'm loving where this conversation is going, because this is allowing your body to heal itself, really. It sounds like it's activating your immune system to do its job more effectively and really start that healing process and accelerate it. So can you break down for me, like, what is hyperbaric oxygen therapy? We shorten it up, HBOT. How does it work? Why is this so beneficial? What is actually happening that people are getting these types of results?
So as I mentioned earlier, you're delivering oxygen directly to your body at the cellular level. And so what that looks like and how it works is basically we're all taught, like in high school, how oxygen gets delivered to our body is using the red blood cells. Our red blood cells go into the lungs, they pick up oxygen, and they take it throughout the bloodstream to all of the cells. So what the hyperbaric oxygen therapy does is it bypasses that process by infusing oxygen directly into your bloodstream. So you get into a chamber, zip up the chamber, and we increase the atmospheric pressure in the chamber. And so basically there are varying levels of pressure, but in essence, some of these ones that people have in their homes is 1.3 atmospheres, or about 4 psi. And so what happens is you're squeezing more air molecules into a smaller space. And so in essence, you're getting automatically, just by being in that space without breathing in any extra oxygen, any supplementation at all, you're getting automatically 30% more oxygen. Now, more oxygen in and of itself is not what's going to do it for you. What's going to do it for you is, because of that increased pressure, instead of the red blood cells picking up that oxygen, what happens is that oxygen gets infused into your bloodstream, bypassing the red blood cells, and everywhere that your blood goes, the oxygen goes and delivers directly to the cells. So as a result, a couple of things happen. Reduced inflammation happens, and as well as something called angiogenesis. Angiogenesis is the formation of new blood cells. So especially when you're talking about cognitive issues, if you get increased and formation of new blood cells in your brain, you get increased blood flow to your brain, increased oxygenation, which increases the cognitive abilities and helps with recovery from dementia, from traumatic brain injuries, you name it, as well as any wound healing throughout the body whatsoever. And that goes for internal or external.
That's incredible. And yeah, so I wasn't aware of the angiogenesis part where your body is actually creating these new blood vessel pathways. And so now it makes a lot more sense why this is able to work as effectively as it does. Because like you said, it's creating these new pathways. And not only that, the pressure is putting oxygen directly into the bloodstream and the cells and those sorts of things. So it's like, if you have respiratory problems, lung problems, asthma, bronchitis, any of these type of issues, COPD, you're not getting those issues with the oxygenation problems. And, this is a lot of the reason that we see people with poor wound healing and all these different conditions and issues. And I have a few people with traumatic brain injury who I'm like, they need to probably do this, because that's really interesting. Now,
I will say this, severe asthma and COPD are contraindications to using hyperbaric oxygen therapy, because of the increased pressure, it can create issues for those two conditions. So just, and we always tell people, definitely consult with your doctor, and believe it or not, a lot of doctors really don't know much about hyperbaric oxygen therapy. So, if somebody doesn't have a doctor that knows a lot, we can refer them to a hyperbaric specialist to kind of help them determine whether or not it works for their particular condition or whatever they're looking to help with.
Right. So tell me more about that. How does someone get to have this type of therapy? Like you're saying, you have to go to a specialist to see if you need this. Is that true?
You don't have to go to a specialist. Some doctors know about it. But what we've found is there's a certain percentage of doctors that don't know anything about it. And so the patient will do their own research and be like, oh, I found this. It looks like it, and look, I found these National Institute of Health studies, that are online, and this PubMed journal that's online, and it looks like hyperbaric will help. And they go to their doctor because we require a prescription. They go to their doctor, the doctor's like, yeah, I'm not sure, and I don't have time to read that, so I'm not writing a prescription for you. And so what winds up happening is, they'll come back to us and like, my doctor won't write a prescription, and so then we'll refer them to another doctor. So you don't necessarily have to go to a specialist. There are other clients where their doctors are fully versed on the benefits of hyperbarics and how it helps with their particular condition, and so sometimes it's not a problem at all. So we've seen both sides. We actually, there was one particular client who, she is a radiologist. So she is a doctor. She had issues with wound healing, so there are two conditions where it's, because as you might imagine, there aren't a ton of studies done on hyperbarics. It's starting to get more, but two conditions which it's almost undisputed that hyperbarics helps with. One is wound healing. And the other is cognitive issues. So like dementia, traumatic brain injury, concussions, those types of things. Those two areas, almost undisputed. A lot of studies on them. Wound healing especially. So this radiologist, she had issues with an ankle surgery that she had. Everything went fine except her wounds weren't healing. So they referred her to a wound care doctor. She starts investigating hyperbarics. Her wound care doctor, who specializes in wound care, who should know all about hyperbarics, says to her, yeah, I don't think the hyperbarics is going to work for you. Tells her no, won't write a prescription for her. She is a doctor. She doesn't like how things are going, writes her own prescription for it. We put it in her home, and within 2 days, she starts seeing progress on the wound healing. To the extent when she goes back to get her dressings changed, they're like, oh, we've never seen anything like this. This is unprecedented. Like, what is going on? And she didn't tell them until after like 3 weeks. Oh yeah, by the way, I've been doing hyperbarics on the side. So some people know about it, some people don't. It's not an issue either way. If somebody's doctor doesn't know about it, we can always refer them. But it's always interesting to see how the medical industry handles that sort of thing.
Yeah, that's interesting. I have a phrase that I've just come up with, like, it is really the zombie apocalypse. Oh, how is this happening? We can't believe you're healing so fast. Come on. So how is this type of therapy different? Because there are other ways that, a lot of people know, especially in the wellness space and in the online space, that oxygen is beneficial for the body. But, some people have these breathing techniques, Wim Hof and all these different things to try to increase their oxygenation, or, just using external oxygen, adding oxygen to your regimen, or even ozone therapy, because I'm like, when you said, oh, this is contraindicated with asthma and COPD and these type of lung conditions, I'm like, well, maybe ozone could be like the alternative for them. Not that this is an ozone discussion, but how does this compare to using oxygen in these other ways?
So all of those things that you mentioned are awesome. We love them all. The difference here is that the oxygen, because of the higher atmospheric pressure in the chamber, it gets directly infused into your bloodstream. If it was just the oxygen, then you wouldn't need to get into the chamber. You could just get an oxygen concentrator and breathe in oxygen, and you'd see the same results. But it's really the increased atmospheric pressure that makes a difference. To the extent that it's also an anti-aging modality. There's one guy I was about, I guess, a year ago, who was really into hyperbarics, and he was doing studies. And so he pulled this stunt because, hyperbarics is not exciting. But what he did was he decided to set the Guinness Book of World Records by spending the longest amount of time underwater out of any human being. And he built this little room, and he was like 30 feet underwater, and he had a little hot plate in there, and he spent 100 days underwater in this little room. So by being underwater, it is the functional equivalent of being in a hyperbaric chamber, because you have the increased atmospheric pressure as you go. As a matter of fact, they call hyperbaric sessions dives. So he spent 100 days down there. So he did all these blood tests before he went down, and then he did them again when he came up. And so what they found was his telomeres lengthened during the 100 days that he was down there, to the extent that his biological age, he got younger by 10 years. It reversed his biological age by 10 years while he was down there underwater. Now, I don't expect anybody to spend 100 days straight in a hyperbaric chamber. However, what it does is shine a spotlight on what's actually happening. It's a very intensive study as to what's actually happening when you're in a hyperbaric chamber. And so basically he reversed his aging by about 10 years. So there's a lot of things that go on. You're generally not going to do that just by breathing in oxygen. You're generally not going to do that by ozone treatments or some of these other things. As much as I love them, and they definitely reduce inflammation and they have other benefits, it's just a little bit different animal with the hyperbarics.
Yeah, that's interesting. So if somebody's looking for the fountain of youth, maybe you just found it. I'm not sure.
Well, what's interesting, you had mentioned Noah earlier, and you're like, oh, I feel like Noah's Ark, 40 days, 40 nights.
There you go.
Well, So there has been speculation that the reason why people were living to 900 years old prior to the Great Flood is that the Earth's atmospheric pressure was that much higher prior to the Great Flood. And then after there was the Great Flood, the Earth's atmospheric pressure reduced significantly to the point where nobody was living beyond 120 years anymore.
I've heard these theories before too. So interesting. So now I have a question. Do you use your chamber every day? I know it's a personal question, but knowing this information, are you trying to live to 900 and sleep in it every day?
I don't know about sleeping in it every day. It does get a little hot in there. So that's probably one of the things that we tell our clients, usually general use to be effective is 1 to 3 hours, and then you take a break. It just gets hot. So it's not common to sleep in there. Although Michael Jackson did sleep in there when he did get burned, because that was after his massive burn, he was just sleeping in there the whole time. So
he liked the impact of it so much that allegedly he slept in there. And who knew that the king of pop was at the cutting edge of medical technology?
Yeah. And then to go back to your question, so for us, we're very busy. We have 4 kids, but we try to get in there at least 2 to 3 times a week. Our goal is to get in there at a minimum every day. Like most people, it's very difficult to do if you're busy. But a lot of times, if we have an injury or something that we're really dealing with, we really prioritize being in there every single day if we can.
And going back to what we were talking about earlier, as far as like how many sessions it takes to make a difference. Perfect example. I had a herniated disc in my neck, possibly one of the most painful things I've experienced in my lifetime, where, just walking around in pain, going down my neck, the back of my shoulder, into my arm, all the way into my hand. And I did 3 sessions in a week for 2 hours each. And during the course of that week, my pain went from an 8 to a 10, all the way down to a 3 out of a 10 over the course of 3 2-hour sessions. So, to answer your question from before, as far as how long does it take to make an impact, sometimes it's as quickly as that.
Yeah. And it sounds like your body is pretty accustomed to it by doing this regularly. So does your body adjust over time and respond more effectively to the therapy?
That's tough to say. And, as far as what you notice, or everyone's different. So I've had some people just try it out for like 10 minutes and get out and be like, that was amazing. I'm like, really? You were in there for 10 minutes. So I started asking questions, and the person was like, oh yeah, I feel like, when the chiropractor just got a good adjustment, I feel great walking out. I'm like, okay, maybe you did notice a difference, because I don't, usually for most people, I think it takes 3 to 5 sessions for them to start really noticing anything. But like I said, everybody's different. Some people may take longer. Some people notice in 10 minutes.
And to also add on to that, as far as like home use for us, we have it in our home. And so for us, it's more maintenance at this point. So we are very active. We have 4 kids. So we're juggling all that, but we're trying to get back into our health again, as far as, we're on a health journey to get back into like the best shape of our lives. So we incorporate that in part of our recovery. And we also have an infrared sauna. So we're at a point now where we're trying to maintain a weekly routine. But like I said, if there are injuries that we have or nagging things that are coming up, we're feeling sick, we'll go in there and be more diligent about getting in there every single day if we can. And just make it part of our routine to make sure that we're doing that.
Yeah. Like when I almost cut my finger off washing a knife, I was in there every day for the course of like almost an entire week. And I will say it healed faster than anything I've ever seen. Awesome.
Wow. That's so cool. So you've touched on it a little bit, but I want to know, what is this experience like? Because we've heard chamber and laying in there, and I'm just being silly talking about sleeping in there because I'm like, you're gonna lengthen your telomeres. Look, telomeres are like your countdown clock to when you're gonna die. Not
Yeah.
literally, but something like that. They're the ends of your DNA, and the studies are showing the length of it, whether it's shorter or longer, is kind of correlated with your lifespan. And so
Mm-hmm.
there are things that you can do naturally to get those to expand in size. So this is what we're talking about with telomeres, not to kind of leave that out there. But I want to
If
know
I can
what
just
is
add to that,
uh-huh.
if I can just add to that, so the longer they are, so basically they tell your DNA how fast they should replicate. So basically, your DNA are always recreating themselves and recreating new cells, and so the longer the telomere is, the more frequently the DNA replicates, which is exactly why, like, if you ever notice, like, if a baby gets some sort of an injury or a cut or scratches itself, it heals so fast because the telomeres are so long. It's like the DNA is, quickly recovering and reproducing, which is also why they grow so fast.
That's awesome. So can you tell me, what is this experience like? I have not been in a hyperbaric chamber, but I'm like, chamber, does that mean like coughing? I think I'm a
Yes.
little bit traumatized to like small spaces. So I'm like, how's this gonna be? Like, I don't want to have a panic attack.
Yeah.
How is the experience with, having the session? How does it feel? I
Mm-hmm.
know you said if you stay in too long, it gets hot, but is it pretty comfortable? Like, what is a session like?
Yeah, I can. So I'm very claustrophobic myself. So for me, it took some time. At a minimum, the first session was a little bit scary for me. Just because being in an enclosed area, I can tell my brain was just like going through so many different situations. So it is in an enclosed area. However, after the first session, it was like a breeze. And so it's very comfortable in there once you're inside. The chambers that we use are large. And so what we always recommend is, if you are claustrophobic, we want to get the bigger size chambers, because they do have smaller chambers that are available, which are less expensive. But for us, we always say, hey, comfort is everything, especially if you're going to spend a lot of time in there. And so when you go in, there's a mattress that you lay down in. It's very comfortable, and you can make the setup any way you want, where you have a pillow and, like, you have a bolster, and we also put a little fan in there to make it very comfortable. But once you go in, we basically zip the person up in there, and then
Or they zip themselves up.
or they can zip themselves up.
It can be operated just by one person if
Right.
you have it in your home.
Right. So you can go in there yourself, zip yourself up, and then it takes about 5 minutes for the pressure to build, and then that will help the pressure to be, or basically the chamber to inflate. And so you'll feel a lot better as far as like the room itself. It feels a lot more spacious once you're in there, once the pressure is fully inflated. And then the most uncomfortable part is really the pressure building. So it almost feels like you're going on an airplane, taking off on an airplane, and the idea of clearing your ears and making sure that you can clear your ears so that it's not uncomfortable. And then once you're at full pressure, you don't feel anything anymore. And it's pretty much, really easy. You can sleep in there, you can meditate. And then the only other step is, once you're ready to get out, then the deflation part, meaning the pressure you'll feel that pressure again coming down. So so it does take some time to get used to, especially because if, like, you have to go to the bathroom, it takes about a minute or two to deflate the pressure. And then because you can't just unzip yourself out right away because of the pressure. So it takes a little bit of getting used to, but once you get used to it, it's super easy, super comfortable.
Well, really, the only thing that takes getting used to is like the first 5 minutes, the inflation. Once it's fully inflated and you're at full pressure, it's like anything else,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And now, just the one thing is that after about close to an hour, maybe if you don't have a fan in there, it might get a little stuffy.
Mm-hmm.
But because you got to remember, we're 98.6 degrees and we're breathing air in and out inside this enclosed chamber. So after being all that breathing in there, after a while, it's going to start to gradually get closer to the 98 degree temperature than the comfortable 70 that we're used to. So having like a portable fan in there helps a lot. You'd be surprised how much it helps. But like it starts to get a little warm around after about an hour.
Yeah, and then I always say, like, if you're worried about spending that much time in there, bring a small device. You can bring your phone, so you can have Netflix going. You can have, your favorite music going, and that usually helps me. If you want to bring your book, to read in, it's very comfortable to do that. So I think a lot of just distracting yourself and doing, you can still do work in there if you want to. Like if you're on your phone, you can still send emails and make phone calls. I've made plenty of phone calls on there inside the chambers, so you can still be productive while you're in there.
We've heard a lot of people say it is their favorite time of the day is going in the hyperbaric chamber. The reason why is because it's like you close up this thing and the outside world just disappears. No one's bothering you. No one's doing anything. You don't hear any sounds from the outside world. All your problems disappear for an hour, and you're just like, okay.
That is so interesting. And I'm like, wow, you can do all that in there. So I do have a follow-up question, like a little bit of a technical aspect about the chamber, because when I think of oxygen and pressurized oxygen, I'm thinking of oxygen tanks. These things are highly explosive. I don't want my cell phone and any potential sparks around this thing. So I'm like, okay, make the distinction. What are we really dealing with? Are we dealing with 100% oxygen? What are we actually going into?
So glad you brought that up. Because believe it or not, this sounds scary, but what was it, 2 months ago or no, earlier in the year, maybe it was January, one of those hyperbaric chambers up in Michigan actually caught on fire and exploded with a little boy in it. And so those are the chambers that are filled with 100% oxygen. So they pump actual oxygen, pure oxygen, into the chamber, and it's filled up with oxygen, as you just mentioned, is highly combustible. So those chambers, you can't go in with any lotions on. You have to wear the clothes that they give you, because anything that could create any sort of static electricity is possibly going to blow up the chamber. You can't have electronics and nothing in there. So the chambers that we sell and rent have ambient air pumped into them. So it's no oxygen tanks, nothing. And so because of the ambient air, it's a lot safer. Nothing like that would happen. And you're increasing the oxygen by about, depending upon what the pressure is, anywhere between 30 to 50% more oxygen than you would normally breathe in. So now what supplements it is people often supplement it by breathing in oxygen through a mouth and nose mask. And so what you can do is we also rent those where you have an oxygen concentrator that filters oxygen out of the air and pumps it through a tube that puts it into the mouth and nose mask. And so that way they would be supplementing with about approximately 94 to 96% oxygen that they're breathing in, but at the same time, it's not filling the entire chamber with oxygen. So you're not creating that danger that you would in some of those bigger, more medical grade. I mean, it's a medical grade device anyway, but when I say medical grade, I'm talking about the hard-sided chambers that you see in hospital facilities. We also sell hard-sided chambers as well that go up to higher atmospheric pressures, but those also are not pumped with pure oxygen. They're also ambient air with an oxygen supplementation as well. So also much safer.
Yeah, that's good to know, because it's like I don't want anybody to feel on edge or unsafe about this. And so, can you talk about any type of red flags that we can look for? How do we know if we're getting good quality care or if this is something we should raise an eyebrow to and back away slowly? Like, because I know you all offer the white glove service, and you're dotting all your I's and crossing all your T's, getting the prescriptions from the doctors ahead of time, all these different things. So what do we have to do to know that we're getting the right care when it comes to hyperbaric therapy?
One thing I was always a red flag is anybody tells you that it's definitely going to work for you is lying. It works different for everybody. Everybody's body is different. There is no one size fits all solution for any given thing whatsoever, whether it be hyperbarics or anything else. And the reason why I say that is because there's so much information out there as far as the wide spectrum of use cases for hyperbarics that it already starts to sound like snake oil. So the last thing you want to do is promise people that it's going to provide a result that it may or may not provide. All we can tell people is the results that we've seen for other people. So if anybody says it's definitely going to work for you, that's definitely a red flag. The other thing that I would say is there are a lot more hyperbaric chambers coming into the market, and they're not all made in the United States, even though the companies themselves may. So what some Chinese companies are doing is they're incorporating in the U.S. and they're starting to sell chambers in the U.S., but all of their chambers are made in China, which is fine. I'm sure they all work. However, if all of a sudden one doesn't, or you need service, then all of a sudden you're trying to call China. You're trying to contact somebody in China to get your hyperbaric chamber fixed. We try to make sure, like the hyperbaric chambers that we rent and sell are all made in the U.S. They're all FDA approved, and they've been fully vetted as far as the customer service from the manufacturers. So we have personal relationships with the manufacturers where we act as a liaison. If any of our customers has a problem, they can always call us and we will contact the manufacturer because we have a relationship. Sometimes it's a little bit tougher for an individual consumer to get the kind of attention that they want from a manufacturer because they're just one of many people. Whereas when we contact the manufacturer, because we're constantly doing business with them, we tend to get a little bit better responsiveness. So one thing to watch out for is where it's manufactured, so that you can kind of get a gauge as to what kind of customer service you're going to get if something goes wrong. Because is something going to go wrong? Probably not, but you just kind of want to keep an eye out for that.
Yeah, and to add to that, so hyperbarics is now coming to the forefront of the mainstream media. So Brian Johnson is now talking about it. Obviously, RFK Jr. is talking about it. So a lot of people are becoming more aware of it in the mainstream media. And so before, it was only commonly known in the hospital setting, which every hospital has a wound care center, which incorporates hyperbarics. And so not a lot of people knew about it, or it was only used for certain things like scuba divers or naval bases use it for their pilots and things like that. So now, because everybody is so much more aware or want to be more health conscious, it's becoming a lot more popular. And so to add on to what Adam was saying is that you're going to see a lot of different chambers in the market that you can go online and just buy for like $2,000 or $3,000, which is fine, but just know that you get what you pay for sometimes, because you don't know, like Adam was saying, you have to make sure you investigate where it's made out of, what the materials are made out of, because you're going to spend a lot of time in there. So you want to make sure the material is quality, non-toxic, medical grade equipment that you're going to be able to use for a long time, because these things can last a long, long time. So just making sure that you're getting a good quality piece of equipment. It's an investment in your health. So we don't take that lightly, and we tell our clients that, just just kind of be aware of what you're getting to make sure that you're buying it the right way.
I saw a listing on Facebook Marketplace for a guy who was making hyperbaric chambers in his garage. That might be a red flag. I don't know.
And there was a disclaimer that was like, well, we cannot approve that any human should be okay. And then you're like, well, why are you selling it then?
He was like, but hey, but you could buy this for $35,000.
Yeah.
It was a hard-sided. It was like a real, I mean, it
looked pretty.
Hey, if he wants to make one for himself and use it, you know, guy sounds pretty handy, so it probably works. But I don't know if I'd be buying one from him.
Yeah, that sounds kind of scary. Do not recommend that at all.
Yeah.
So you guys are located in the Dallas area. How do we reach out to you? I mean, okay, if we're in that area, okay, obviously we can reach out, but can you help us if we live somewhere else? We have people all over the place.
Yes, absolutely. So we help everyone all across the U.S. And so we can ship the chamber to our clients. We actually have a couple clients, one in Houston right now that's renting the chamber. We have one in Fresno, so they're kind of all over the place. So we're able to sell and rent them anywhere in the U.S. In the Dallas DFW area, we, like you had mentioned, we provide white glove service. So that's one of the advantages of renting in our local area. We basically will come and deliver it to your home, set it up, help you train on it, make sure that you are comfortable and safe in it. And then obviously you ongoing support and maintenance. We do that also for our outside out of state clients. But instead of physically being there, we obviously guide them through the process through a Zoom call, or multiple calls to make sure that they set everything up correctly. And we help track everything as far as the packages. So we really try to make it as simple as possible for the client to get it, so that there's no hassle and no worries.
As far as reaching us, they can go to our website, which is nextlevelhbot.com. So that's Next Level, and HBOT is short for Hyperbaric Oxygen Therapy. So nextlevelhbot.com. Or they can always call us, and they can call us or text us at our number 682-593-7111. 682-593-7111.
Yes, and if you're watching us on YouTube, we just popped the info up there. It will be in the show notes and the description. Thank you guys so much for being here. But we're not done. I want to know, is there anything else that before you guys leave and run off to your busy lives, managing everything and saving the world, is there anything else that we need to know about hyperbarics?
What do you think?
Well, one of the things that we're moving into is specifically for medical practitioners. It's something that many practices can use and would see a value in offering to their clients. So, for example, we're starting to get relationships with cosmetic surgeons because it is so great with wound healing, as you might imagine. Cosmetic surgeons, physical therapists, and orthopedic surgeons, people can recover in half the time, whether it be from some sort of cosmetic procedure. Like, for example, we had one client who recovered in half the time. She took the initiative on her own to rent one, but she had a whole mommy makeover done and recovered in half the time, so she could get back out into the public eye without, because man, people come out of these procedures and they look, they look rough, and so they hide away for a little while, and they can't wait to get out and show everybody what they look like. Same thing goes with, athletes, or, anybody who's active, who has some sort of orthopedic surgery, whether on their shoulder, their knee, their hips, you name it. They can get back into action that much more quickly. Physical therapy, the types of injuries. So what we're doing is we're starting to build relationships with some of these practices so that every single patient that comes in gets offered this, because not a lot of people know what it does and know the impact of it. And so the practices are the ones that can really spread the word.
Wow, I love that. I'm like, It's just such a good idea. So I have loved
We
this
think so.
conversation today. It is. I'm like, thank you guys so much for being here and taking time out of your day to share a little bit more information with us. I think this has been really valuable because people need more information and to not be buying hyperbaric tanks off Facebook Marketplace. Like, no.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for having
Thanks
us.
for
We
having
appreciate it.
us. We really enjoyed our
Yes.
conversation. And if anybody has any questions, we're available to have a conversation.
Absolutely. And again, their contact is nextlevelhbot.com, 682-593-7111. Reach out. It's Jonalyn and Adam, guys. So you know them now. So don't hesitate. Reach out to them if you do have questions, if you need help, if you need healing ASAP, then call them for sure. If you are dealing with lingering symptoms that your doctor cannot explain or figure out, or if you're just ready to accelerate your recovery after surgery, improve your focus, your energy, whatever it is that you may need, then hyperbaric oxygen therapy might just be that missing piece for you. So huge thanks to Jonalyn and Adam from Next Level Hyperbarics, not only for breaking down the science, but also for showing us how oxygen can be used when it's used with intention and care, and how much of a benefit we can get from that. If this episode sparked any curiosity for you, or even reminded you of someone who is struggling right now with their health, or they're feeling stuck for some reason, then definitely send this episode their way. And if you are ready to explore HBOT for yourself, be sure to check out the links in the description or the show notes and connect with someone at the Next Level team directly. So until next time, let's keep asking the important questions about our health and discovering those answers for ourselves. This has been Dr. Angela Mosley and the DocMo Show. And until the next episode, I'll see you later. Bye.